Hey guys, my name is James. I'm going to be looking at comparative advantage today. I want you guys to take away three main things from this presentation. Number one, a good does not need to be absolutely competitive to still get benefits from trade. We're going to draw a distinction between an absolute advantage and a comparative advantage, and we're going to discuss why trade overall is very beneficial. So first things first is our opportunity cost. An opportunity cost just describes the idea that when you're doing one thing, you cannot do another. And if that another thing is more valuable, your time would be better spent doing that thing. So we're going to distinguish between absolute and comparative advantages. 10 cars, one guy can make 10 cars or 10 pounds of wheat per hour, and then another guy can make 50 cars or 50 pounds of wheat an hour. Although the 50-50 guy has the absolute advantage, ultimately their comparative advantage is the same because they have the same ratio of opportunity costs, 1 to 1. Our first real easy trade example is going to be Carlos, who can make 10 cars in a year but can only grow 5 pounds of wheat in a year, and Wheatloaf, who does the inverse. We're going to look at what happens when they don't trade. Ultimately, their specialty they get a lot of, their non-specialty not so much, assuming they split their time equally. But if they specialize and then trade the difference, they both get 5 of each good. Better for the both of them. So why the difference? Ultimately, it comes down to the fact that both of the boys have inverse opportunity costs. That is to say that every time they're not doing something that is their specialty, they're being a bit inefficient. Carlos is really good at cars, Wheatlos is really good at wheat. They should do what they're good at and trade the difference. A little bit harder, we're going to add into the distinction between absolute versus competitive advantages. We have Jeremiah here. He's got a gnarly absolute advantage in producing cars and wheat. He's better at it than Jeremiah is at both. But when you look at the numbers, you can see that when you break it down into a ratio, Jeremiah has got a comparative advantage of producing cars, and Jeremiah has a comparative advantage of producing wheat. This means they can trade, just like in the last example. So let's take a look at the graph. They don't trade. What we see is it's a respectable goods. Obviously, the individual with the absolute advantage is going to have most of the goods. But say they do trade, they do specialize. Both are better off. The person with the absolute advantage is ultimately more better off. They still have more, but they both slightly benefit. Germany has a 2 to 3 wheat competitive advantage, and Germany has a 2 to 1 wheat to cars competitive advantage. And this is what I want you guys to take away, is that it's not about the actual number of goods, it's about the ratio when you break down. That's what competitive advantage is. Thank you.